All right. Start the recording. Let me bring up a new Excel now. Here. I'll zoom in the same like last time.
Yep, and just keep it larger. That's good, and you could get rid of that. Yeah. So yes, you can go ahead and use calculators and different things, even websites to go ahead and do an amortized loan, right? The
Yeah.
problem, though, is that there's a lot that is going on with the loan, and without actually putting it on a spreadsheet. Right. You're going to miss some very, very key insights into what the loan is all about and how it works and what it actually can do for you, you
Hmm.
know. And so by putting it on a spreadsheet and looking at it very carefully, you start to pick up some great insights on it, right? And
Yeah.
so what I'd like to, and also just even modeling a a loan helps tremendously. Um, like I could explain to someone what amortization is, right? But it's not easily understood until you actually put it down on a spreadsheet,
Yeah.
you know. And then when you see it on the spreadsheet, you go, oh, okay, yeah, this makes a lot of sense, right?
Hmm.
So to start, I kind of want to in that first row that you're first cell that you're looking at,
Yeah.
right? I want to put a label there for PP, right? Just put PP there. That's the purchase price of a property you might buy.
Okay.
To the right of that in the B column, just put $1 million. Okay. Now, under the PP, we're going to put a typical down payment percentage, which is DP percentage. And typically, we're going to put 20% down. By the way, do you know why we put 20% down normally?
Um, I'm not sure why that's the normal amount now.
Okay, let me just talk a slight amount about this right now,
Okay.
right? The reason why you put 20% down is because of the way banks operate, right? A
Yeah.
bank wants to lend money, but they don't want to lend money in such a way that you have no skin in the game. Because if
Hmm.
you have no skin in the game, right, you can default on that and the bank can lose everything while you have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
You see the problem. So they want you to have skin in the game. And 20% is an acceptable skin in your game that you will feel, the need to protect that 20%, and therefore you're going to try your best. So 20% is a very typical amount that the bank is going to want you to have because they feel that's a risk that you are unwilling to lose, right? The 20% of that $1 million, right,
Hmm.
of the value of that house, that gives you enough skin to really try to make this work. So
Yeah.
so that's it's really about risk, right? And
Yeah.
we're going to get to more and more detail into what the bank actually does, right? So let's press enter here. So you get the 20% and then put the dollar amount, DP dollar. Okay. And let's calculate what the mortgage principal would be for this purchase.
Let's put MP, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, and that would be.
Or you could just say mort, MORT for mortgage. That'll be fine. So typically you're going to just take the million, subtract it from the down payment amount. So you're borrowing 800,000 in this particular scenario. right?
Yeah.
Now, go to the D column, D1.
Okay.
So we're going to put some different things over here, right? In which involves the mortgage, right? So first, we're going to repeat the principal amount. So, and in this case, instead of calling it the mortgage, we're going to call it principal. I'm glad you spelled principal the correct way for a mortgage, because you
Yeah.
could spell it with PLE, which is not correct.
Uh-huh.
This one is correct.
Yeah.
Okay, and you could point to the 800,000. Okay. Now, what is involved in a mortgage normally? So we have the amount you're borrowing. What else do we need?
Interest rate.
Right, interest rate. So just type int rate. Okay. Do you know what today's interest rates are for a
Uh,
30-year fixed mortgage?
6%, around
Okay.
6%.
It could be, but I'd like you to do a Google just to get an idea, right? And I'd like you to type in something like what is today's 30-year mortgage rate, right?
Yeah, 6%, 6.15%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'd like you to add to this, right? Instead of what is today's 30-year mortgage rate, I want you to add 30-year jumbo mortgage rate. Try that.
Yeah, it's loading. My internet really sucks right now. I'm on my phone.
No problem. And see if there's a difference here. There should be potentially
There we go.
a,
6.36 to 6.38. A little higher.
okay. So the first thing I want you to understand, there are different types of mortgages. Why did I ask you to type in the word jumbo? Because jumbo is a classification of a particular mortgage, right? And generally, when you have mortgages over a certain amount, like 300,000, they
Hmm.
then fit into a different category of mortgages, and you're probably not going to use mortgages that are below 2 or 300,000. It depends on what you're going to buy,
Yeah.
right? So non-jumbos are going to be lower than jumbo mortgages. Here, for the one we're modeling at the moment, you need a jumbo because you're at the $800,000 level,
Yeah.
right? So the rates are going to be a little bit higher, right? So what are we saying? Approximately 6.36 is what they're saying,
Yeah.
So
About.
we're gonna say 6.3%.
Okay. 6.4 is probably closer. It looks like just 6.4.
Okay, let's do it at 6.4.
All right.
Okay. Now, what's the next thing we need?
Uh, the term.
Term, exactly. And what does term mean?
How long you have to pay back all the money.
Yes. So it's the term. And and in this case, we want a 30-year mortgage, right? And we're not going to put it in terms of the years. We are going to put the number of payments over 30 years, which is 12 payments for each year times 30 is 360 payments.
Yeah.
Okay. You can press enter here and go down to the next one. Okay, this is what we will call the payment. So this is your monthly payment. So just type in payment. Yeah, that's good. And Excel has a function called PMT and open parentheses. Okay. So the first thing is asking for is the rate,
Yeah.
right? So you could click on the rate. The next thing it's asking for is the number of times you are making this payment. And that happens to be the 360.
Oh, I just screwed that up. 1 second. Yeah.
Then the next thing it wants is the present value of the mortgage principal that you're borrowing.
Just here.
Yeah. Now, before you press enter, I will tell you this is going to be a problem. So close it and press enter. Okay. Does this make sense to you?
For a monthly payment? No,
That
that doesn't make any sense.
why do you think it did it this way?
Um, see. Um, I'm not sure.
Okay. Let me explain the function for you.
Okay.
Double click on it. So um, the first one is the rate, right? That's the first variable,
Yeah.
right? The rate that they're asking for is not the annual rate.
Oh,
It
I
is
see.
the rate per payment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, but what we put there as the interest rate is the rate per year, but not the rate per payment. Our payment is done monthly, so it
Mm-hmm.
needs the monthly payment. So how do we get the monthly payment?
That over
The
12.
monthly, right, not the monthly payment, but the monthly interest rate, right?
Yeah.
You take the rate, you divide by 12. Now press enter.
Yeah.
Okay.
That looks
That
all
is
right.
much better.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Now, why is it in a negative number like this?
Because it's your payment. So this is what you're paying to the bank.
Who's paying?
You, the investor, or
No,
the borrower. The borrower.
nope.
No,
Who's paying the mortgage in this case?
the tenant.
Yes. This is why I don't like to see it as a negative number because we are not taking our money out of our pockets to pay it. It's really going to be the tenants that are doing it, right? So
Yeah.
I'd like to reverse this because that will help you to understand that. And to reverse it, just put a negative in front of the function.
The function. Okay. Right here.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so while it is true, it really is a negative cash flow because it really is a payment. But we have to imagine is that again, our real reference point is what goes into our pockets, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what comes out of our pockets. And this doesn't really have to do with our pockets right now. All right. What this has to do with is that the tenant is actually going to be paying this. If you're paying it, you got a problem,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So there is no time that I would advise you to ever buy a property where you're paying into the property,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can and still do well. That is true. But I would advise to try to never go negative on a monthly basis, right?
Yeah.
So now, when we're doing amortized mortgages like this, I'd really like to see that payment as a positive number and not as a negative number to remind you that it's not you that is paying it, it's the tenants that's paying it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Now, so that's the first thing.
Okay.
Now, mortgages, right, have a start date when you're going to make the payment, right? So if you could go to the G column,
All right.
right? Uh, Here, type in, we want to type in payment start date. And the way I like you to do it is you type month first. So the word month.
Okay.
And to the right, just put in 3 for March, right? Next one will be day. We're going to do it March 1st. Will be our first payment, right? In the year 2026. Okay.
Okay.
So this is how we're going to set up our spreadsheet, right? You could save the spreadsheet at this moment and just call it mortgage, uh, mortgage amortization or some, some abbreviation of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in order to set this up, we're going to need to go to the A column again, but we're going to go slightly down to say the sixth or seventh row.
Okay.
Okay. I just type in date. We need the date first. And then on the right side of date, I want you to type in term, right? Because we have to make payments per term and only 360 of those,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can press enter here. All right, now let's go back under date, right?
Yeah.
In this case, I want to, we know the start date of the first payment.
Uh-huh.
It's in March, right? March 1st, 2026, right? Now, I kind of want to use a function here in order, because we're going to need the function to help us increment the date,
Yeah.
right? The function I'd like to use is called date, and open a parentheses. The first thing is once is the year. Let's click on that. The comma. Next is the month. Another comma. Okay. And close it, right?
Yeah.
Now, the term I want you to put is one. Okay. Now, the easy part is to increment the term.
Yeah.
To increment the term, just say equals
Equals.
and point and move your cursor up and then say plus one. Okay.
Okay.
That's easy to do because when you copy it down a few, that will increase normally.
Mhm.
Not a lot, just right there is fine. I just want to show you the increments. No
Yeah.
problem.
Hmm.
The problem is the date though. Copy that down.
Just gonna go one day at a time. Oh, that's not even gonna work.
Right. We have a problem with copying it. Right?
Hmm.
We want to fix that.
Yeah.
So to fix it, just go into the formula. All right. Now, go to the first H4,
Okay.
right? You have a F you should have a F4 button.
Yeah, I do.
Press that. Okay. You see how it puts the dollar signs around it?
Yeah. Nice and
Do the
quick
same for each one.
for each one.
Yeah. Okay. Press enter. So those dollar signs basically lock it in. So just copy it down a few times. You'll see that it does that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't help us because it's not incrementing it, right?
No.
So we are going to increment it um, easily. Uh, but I want to show you how we're going to do it. And part of this is really so that you're going to learn Excel, at a little bit more sophisticated way, right?
Hmm.
Because really you're going to need to build very sophisticated models,
Yeah.
right? So now let's go back to that first date. Do Control Z so it uncopies those. Okay. Double click on that. Okay. So how do we increment it? Well, the interesting thing is that the term is going to help us. And
Hmm.
we know we want to change the month, right?
Yeah.
So you see the H2, do
Uh-huh.
a plus,
That's
and then we want to add the B7 to it, right? And when you press enter, you get 4/1/2026. Copy
uh-huh.
that down for a second. You'll see what happens here, right? It's ex it's doing what we expect it to do. It's just adding the term, but the term is adding one all the time. So therefore, we're using it to help us increment the date,
Yeah.
right? The only one thing is we'd like the payment start date to be March.
Uh-huh.
So we have to do something small here. If you go to first of all, press Control Z so you get rid of the copies that you've made. One
Yeah.
more time. There you go. Now double click here. After the B7, just minus a 1. Press enter. Okay. Now copy it. Okay. So it looks good, right?
Yeah.
All right. Now let's talk about our first payment. So it's on March 1st, right? We know that. It's the first term. And the principal amount is what we need next. So after term, we want principal. Okay. And here, we want to just point to the mortgage principal amount, which is in E1. So we want to point to that. Okay. Okay. Now, instead of having it as two digits, I meant two decimals. Let's get rid of decimals. We don't really care about that.
Just
Yeah, you could just remove the
no.
decimals by, yeah.
All right.
So let me explain how this is working,
Uh-huh.
right? So you have to imagine you borrowed $800,000, right? If you borrowed $800,000 and you only borrowed it for a month,
Yeah.
what is the interest on borrowing $800,000 for a month at the 6.4%, right? So what we're going to do to the right of principal is calculate the interest, right? And we're only borrowing it for 1 month. So what we need to do is first take the $800,000 and multiply it by the interest rate. Okay, but that is the interest for the year.
You could
How
put
do
it over
we do it
12.
just for this month? Right, exactly. Press enter. That's how much we pay in interest for this 1 month,
Yeah.
right? Now, after the interest, right, we will owe the principal and the interest, and we call that P&I, principal and interest. So
Mm-hmm.
to the right of the interest, we want to say P&I. Instead of N, we want to use uh,
The
the
ampersand.
actual N, right? Because that's a term every mortgage broker, every mortgage person, anyone who's amortizing understands. They see it this way.
Yeah.
Now we just add the two up, and that's your principal and interest, P&I, right? Okay. When in our first month, you see that we actually owe even more after the first month than what we actually borrowed,
Yeah.
right? And then we will make a payment. So the next one is payment. And we know the payment amount. That's the $5,004 up there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And after we make that payment, we will get a balance. Okay. And how do we calculate this?
Like that.
Exactly. Yes. All right.
Okay.
Now, um, make all of these the same format as your principal there. So you can actually just let's use the format painter. Click on the 800,000 and yeah, and that will format all of those. Okay, that's what we want. Now, once we make that payment and we have the balance,
Uh-huh.
Month two will start. What do we owe the bank in month two?
The New Balance.
Right. So go to um, right there and point to the previous balance. Okay. Now, before we do anything, what is our payment for that month? It's the same $5,004, right?
Yeah.
Copy that down, just the payment.
Oh,
We have a problem.
yeah.
What's our problem?
Um, oh, it's pointing to all these down this row. So you have to do
Right. F4.
yeah, four.
Okay, now copy it down.
There
Make sense?
we go. Yeah.
Okay, look at the interest. Double click on it first so you could see what's going to go on. If you copy it down,
We gotta do that.
yes, press enter and just copy it down. And
Just,
only once, no need to copy it down multiple times.
yeah, I just screwed this up. Second. There we go.
Okay, that's it. We only want it that many times. Now copy down the P&I, that should work. Okay. Now copy down the balance. Okay.
Yep.
Now you could take that row and copy it all the way down. How many times do we need to copy it?
I've got it to 15.
We have it to 15, but how many payments are we making?
360.
Okay, now before you do, when the 360th payment happens, what is the balance of the loan?
0.
So if the calculations don't give us zero, then we have a problem, right?
Correct.
Copy it down. Let's get all 360 payments
Okay. On the
because that
balance?
will prove, no, or you have to copy the entire row.
The whole row. Okay. So,
Yeah. So, but start it, no, no, but start it from 4-1. Click on 4-1.
okay.
Highlight, no, no, highlight from 4-1 all the way to the balance. Just highlight it. In other words, put your mouse over it and then hold your mouse down and slide it over. Okay. Copy that whole thing down so that it's going to go 360 times.
Okay. So from 21, I need 345 more. Okay. It's too far. 345 and 320.
Okay, you're getting
This
there.
390, a little more. Oh, here we go. 360. 0.
Comes to zero. So this proves that our calculations are exactly correct. That
Mm-hmm.
if we borrowed 800,000 at 6.4% and made a payment of $5,004, that we will uh, end the loan after 360 payments or 30 years,
Yeah.
right? So now let's go all the way up. Okay. Now, um, have you ever created a name table before. First of all, save this. Make sure we save it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what I want to do is the following. Um, I want you to highlight the entire table, but not include the header of date, term, principal, but start with right and go all the way down until you get to the end of the table.
Okay.
Now, uh, I want you to click on formula. You see on top it says formula,
Mm,
right? And say define name,
fine.
which is right there. Yeah. And just click on it. Okay. So this is what we're going to call mortgage table. So just say mort table and say okay. It doesn't like the space, so you can take out the space.
Okay.
So what we did was we named this table, the
Uh,
mortgage table, right?
yeah.
Now, why did we do that? Because let's pretend that we're going to sell the building,
Uh-huh.
right, in 10 years from now, right? So let's just go to the J column, J1, right? And just put in sale date, right? And to the right of that.
Mhm.
And let's say we're going to sell it roughly 10 years from now. So 3/1, right, 2036.
Yep.
Okay? Now, we want to know what is the mortgage balance on that date. So if you go under sale date,
Sale date.
right,
Here. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, just type in uh, mortgage balance, mortgage balance, something like that.
Yeah.
And to the right, we actually want to put the mortgage balance based upon that date,
Hmm.
right? To do that, we use a function called VLOOKUP. Have you ever used it before?
No, I haven't used that one before.
Okay. This is going to be a good function for you to typically use.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's saying, what value are you using to look up? Well, we are going to look up the 3/1/2036. So click on that,
Hmm.
put a comma, and it says, where are you looking it up? Well, we're looking it up into the mortgage table. So type in mort, right? Put a comma. Then it says, okay, in that mortgage table, if I find it, what do you want back? We're going to want the balance back, but you can't type in the word balance here. You have to count the number of columns starting from the date. So we're talking about one, two, three, four, five, six, the seventh column, right?
Yeah.
Close that, press enter. Okay? So what this is saying is that if you sold the building
Uh-huh.
and you are paying off your mortgage, right? The mortgage balance will drop from $800,000 where you borrowed it to
Mhm.
$675,000,
Yeah.
right? So that sounds good to me. And we can actually use that, in our calculations. Hmm?
Okay.
Now, just a little bit below that,
Uh-huh.
we're going to use our nice internal rate, right? And we're going to use a chart, right?
Yeah.
So scroll it down a little bit. Just one more. right? And
Okay.
we are going to first calculate our sales proceeds, right? So let's label this sales proceeds. Now, let's talk about this for a second. This is 10 years in the future.
Hmm.
You bought a building for $1 million.
It's appreciated
More
by
like
then.
it should, right? And
Yeah.
let's type in fair market value, FMV. This is 10 years in the future.
Hmm.
Now, I'm going to tell you, don't appreciate it at all. Let's just say it had zero appreciation. Therefore, it's worth $1 million. Just type it in.
Okay.
If it's worth 1 million
Yeah.
and you sold it,
Okay.
right? What do you have to pay off now?
The balance on your mortgage.
Yes. So this is your mortgage balance.
Uh-huh.
Just type that in. Okay. What's next? What else do you have to pay? Some commission and put that a percentage. And in this case, just say 3% because you're going to get your license and you're going to save that 3%.
Yeah.
It's usually 5 or 6%, but we'll make it 3% because you're going to be smart about
Hmm.
it, right? Now we want the dollar amount of the commission. So commission dollar.
And that's on the sale price. So it would be
Yes.
this.
And lastly, right, let's just say there were some costs in selling because you have to hire an attorney and all that stuff, and that was also 3%. So we call it seller's uh, CC for closing costs. And that's put a percentage first, that's 3%. And let's calculate the dollar amount. Okay. So what are we saying here? What are we actually modeling? What
Um,
we're saying, what we're
mhm.
really doing, yeah, tell me in your opinion, what are we actually modeling in this scenario?
um, well, these are all your costs after you sell the building,
Mhm.
and then this is what you're taking away. So you're basically modeling like you could determine with this how much profit you're getting if you just subtract
Yeah.
off your costs off of what you're making here.
Well, let's just say the proceeds,
Yeah.
right? So type in the proceeds and just calculate that. Okay. So 264,897 is what you get back, right?
Yeah.
All right. Now, overall, this spreadsheet is telling us what are we, what have we created? What is it telling us in your thoughts?
Um, After buying this building, and financing it and keeping it for 10 years and selling it, you walk away with $264,896.
Yes, but that's not the full picture because you invested in a place, you assumed zero appreciation after
Uh-huh.
10 years. What else did you assume? Zero cash flow as well.
Zero cash flow. Yeah.
So you just bought it and you sold it 10 years. And that's the only thing that happened. The assumption is, hey, I didn't get any cash flow. I didn't get any appreciation. This is only about the mortgage.
Uh-huh.
So what you're really going to do is to figure out on the mortgage point of view, when the tenant pays the mortgage and all expenses and you get no appreciation and no cash flow, do you actually make a profit? Well, you do make a profit, right?
Hmm.
We could see that. How do you know you're making a profit? Because you put $200,000 down and you're getting back $265,000 back, right? So you
Yeah.
made a $65,000 profit, right?
Uh-huh.
And we know the cash flows. What are the cash flows? Well, year one, what did we do? So let's start our internal rate spreadsheet, our internal rate chart. So we started there with the year,
Where do you want me to put this?
right below the proceeds.
Okay.
You just give it a space because we want to separate it out.
Yeah.
And that'll be the cash flow. You can type that, the word cash flow there. Okay. So in the year um, 2026,
Mhm.
what is our cash flow?
5,004. Or actually zero.
No. Remember, when we talk about cash flow, it's the flow of cash. The reference is your pocket. What happened to our pocket when we purchased the property?
Oh, right. When you purchased negative 200,000.
Yes. So you want to do equals and negative down payment. No, no. Do it by a pointer. Okay. And then for the next 10 years, what happened?
Um, Nothing.
Right. So you still have to model that. Go below that. Well, that may not increase it
No, so I just
in
gonna
mind.
copy it. No.
So then we sell the building in what year? In 2036. And what do we put in our pockets?
The proceeds.
Yes. And we know how to solve this issue, this problem, right? So on the right, just go on down, and we want to label this IRR, and we're going to do an IRR.
Yeah.
And let's give it two decimals. Okay. The point here is that if you just did the mortgage alone, and that's all you did, you
Yeah.
still make a profit,
Uh-huh.
right? Um, and it's not a bad profit. It's comparable to actually what treasury bills are,
Mhm.
right? The only difference here is that, assuming zero appreciation may
Yeah.
not be the best thing, right? And suppose if we said, you know what, I I highly believe it's going to double in price.
Mhm.
If you believe it highly doubles in price, what do we need to change here? So if you go up more, yes, that now becomes 2 million. Right away, we could see the change.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's put it back to a million. Just do Control Z and it'll fix it. Okay. So this tells us, hey, if it actually doubles in price, which is Is not unheard of in certain appreciating markets.
Yeah.
If you if you added that alone, it gives us almost a 20% compounded rate of return, right?
Hmm.
That's pretty substantial, and that's good to know. Now, suppose if I actually had a better interest rate, go up there, and let's say your better interest rate was 5%. And before you change it, what do you think this is going to do to affect your IRR?
If you had a better interest rate on the loan,
Okay, try that.
5%.
Before you press enter,
Yeah.
I'm saying, what will the IRR do?
Um, with this calculation, it'll probably go up.
By substantial amount, small amount, or hardly any amount?
Um, Probably a smaller amount because
Okay.
in
Let's,
the first part of the loan, I think you're paying off less principal, more interest.
mhm. Okay, let's try it. So it did go up, not by much, but you know, it went up, I'd say reasonably well, right?
Yeah.
So we know that the better the interest rate, the more the more you're going to do well because a 3.82% is really not bad. It's certainly better than 2.85, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back up again.
Okay.
Reverse that, do a control Z. All right. Suppose if we decided to put 30% down, what would that do? But without pressing enter, what do you think that would do?
Um, 30% down. Um, I think the IRR would go up
But by how much? Substantially, little,
uh,
a lot.
by a good amount, probably at least 5%
Let's try it.
or down. It went down.
It actually went down in this case, right? Because you're putting $300,000 down. You barely made much money. Now, suppose if that's true, what happens if you put 10% versus 20% versus 30%? See what happens here.
Much higher.
What happens if you put 5%?
Yeah.
What is this telling you?
Um, I mean, the less amount of money that you invest and the more you can get from the bank, the better return you see.
Yeah. Now, I will tell you, if you put 5% down, you're not getting a 6.4% interest rate.
Yeah.
The interest rate is going to go higher because you're going to also pay something called uh, principal mortgage insurance. That's going to be a little later on. However, that's going to add at least, let's just say the interest rate shoots up to 8%. Let's take a look at that.
It's still better.
Much better, you see?
Hmm.
So by modeling, see, this is the funny thing. By amortizing and modeling it gives you a substantial understanding, right, of what your investment can actually do, irrespective of all of these variables that we're moving around, right, that we're adding to our models,
Yeah.
right? Now this model is actually substantial. We put less of a down payment, the interest rate we could change. Let's just say we get some appreciation. So let's make the fair market value say 1.3 million instead. Now look at us. It becomes a really decent investment.
Yeah.
And that's only with a small increase over 10 years. Small in comparison to what we would normally see if we do this the right way.
Uh-huh.
That's how powerful an amortized loan is. It tells you a lot more than your calculator. Do you see what I mean?
For sure, yeah. A lot more information available. And you could also
Exactly.
adjust it a
And
lot easier.
exactly, you could adjust it a lot easier. This is exactly why the financial analyst always does an Excel model,
Hmm.
right? So this becomes the basis of what you're winding up doing. You're combining both the loan, amortization, and the IRR at the same time,
Yeah.
right? And this becomes one of your basic models. Save this,
Yep.
right? And we are always going to constantly come back to here,
Okay.
right? This is something you must always start out with, right?
Hmm.
We're not going to have it in this layout all the time, right? We're going to make it look prettier and have more information and stuff like that, but this must be on any models that you have,
Okay.
right? Right?
Hmm.
So this is basic and it must be uh, fleshed out all the time. Later on, we're going to come back to here again and again as we go into the real world and we start picking up some real information. We might go to mortgage companies, finding out how much you could borrow and so on and so on, and at what interest rate and for how long, you know. And then we're going to come back and see how this all works. By the way, suppose if instead of the sale date being 3/1/2026, 2036, we actually did it for, say, 5 years, right? So if we did it for 5 years, how does this work out? Okay, which then means so that finishes in 2031. We have to we have to move those numbers up in our chart to a 5-year chart, right?
Uh-huh.
No, the chart below the
Oh,
IRR
this
chart.
one. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah. So we want to fix that up also.
so this would be like that. This. This. There.
Okay. But in 5 years, instead of it being 1.3 million, right, maybe it was 1.2 million.
Okay.
Still substantial. Suppose in 5 years it was 1.1 million. Still great. See what I mean?
Hmm.
It tells you a lot. That
Sure.
and remember, you're boiling all of this calculation down to the IRR itself. And it tells you, substantially, that if this is a good investment or not,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So in your mind, eventually, what you're going to do is say, look, I am not going to buy this investment if the IRR doesn't reach this percentage, right? Or you're going to model 5 or 10 different investments
Right.
and you choose the highest IRR,
Hmm.
right?
Makes sense.
Now, now the other thing is you're going to be concerned about the quality of the numbers. The numbers must be correct. You cannot afford to get a substantial hit,
Yeah.
because if it does, it's going to throw all your numbers off,
Hmm.
right? Later on, we're going to work with the spreadsheet so that you can anticipate potential surprises,
Yeah.
you know. So, but again, it all starts from a basic business model like this,
Okay.
right? So let's just again, we don't need to save this one because we just reduced it to 5 years, just to show you that we could do a lot with this.
Yeah.
on a spreadsheet. Very difficult to do on just your calculator.
Okay. Let me undo
Yeah.
some of that then because it's like auto saving. So
Oh, it's auto saving? Okay.
yeah, I'll just put it back to how it was before.
Hmm.
Great. Yeah, should be good.
Okay. So this should be good enough for our video, so you could stop this.
Okay.